Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome, you guys. We'll get kicked off here in a second. Everybody good? Everybody doing well? Yeah. Any guys, any international guys, if you're having issues reaching your accountability representative, please send me or my admin assistant that's marked on here, send either one of us a message, please, privately on here. If you're set up with Robert yesterday, I know he had some kind of medical procedure done, so may not have been available. But other than that, let us know. On that note, we'll go ahead. We will kick off. We'll have some people joining us as we go through. If you've got a camera available, great, join us. If not, that's okay. Feel free to chat in the chat as we go along. If you have something to add, always welcome. I love your guys' feedback. It helps. Obviously I've got some content, some topics I want to talk about, but it helps when we got feedback and we get kind of an idea where you guys are. So on that note, and we had a few more than this yesterday, but how many of you guys were on the call yesterday when we started? Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of review. So Gina, message me who your representative is so we can get a hold of, they can get a hold of you. We want to make sure you guys should be talking to them a little more frequently than that. So, all right, let me get V, if you can keep an eye on people that are trying to join so we can get everybody full. All right, good. So we had some of you guys on yesterday. That was great. How many of you guys took the time and did the homework, sat down and answered questions? That's the big question. Was that 2 of you? Please tell me there was more than that.
I did it.
Okay. Ursula, I got. Marcelo, yes. Did anybody else? I hope you guys did. Yep. Here's what I'm going to do today, guys. We're going to review a little bit yesterday. I'm going to talk through some of that, and then I'm going to talk through some other key points. I'm going to give you a little bit more homework today, kind of continuing along those thoughts. So yesterday, and again, if you got something to say, throw out comments. All right, well, let me ask those of you that did the homework, that sat down and answered questions. How was it? Did you come up with some good ideas? Did you understand the difference between the ideal, the actual, the goals, and that kind of stuff? What do you guys think?
I think I'm still struggling a little bit between the actual goal and the ideal. So okay. I think I've got it, but it's that for me was a bit of a challenge because I think for me before they were intermingled, the whole thing was the same thing. Right.
Well, yeah, I did a bit of, sorry. I because you mentioned Dan Sullivan, I checked him out, and that helped me with setting my goals.
Good. Yeah. So the principle that, and I'm going to review it again, guys, but the principle that I went over yesterday, I am not the author of. I want to be very clear about that. There are some people out there that have a tendency to plagiarize things. I just love that principle. And so it's a guy named Dan Sullivan, runs Strategic Coach. You can find a lot of his trainings. A lot of that stuff's out there. And I am taking some of it here. With that said, I asked permission, like I met them a few occasions and I spoke with them and I got permission to be able to, give you guys this training. I'm not just running with it. Okay. So I just want to be clear. I asked, and I'm giving him permission, so I'm not taking it as mine. So there is a difference when we look at things here. Let me kind of pull up my PowerPoint so we can dive in. So what we're talking about here is learning how to avoid the gap, okay? That's the training. If you want to look up his stuff, you can find it there. Let me pull up the chat here real quick. So I've got it on my screen. Okay. So, all right. And of course it's in the way. All right. So learning how to avoid the gap. What we're talking about here is the way our mind works. We have the ideals. So this is how we kind of think of things. There's the actual is how things actually happen. There's a big gap in there. Okay. There's a gap in between what happens and where you want to go. V, if you can do me a favor, just keep an eye on the waiting room for me. Let people in as they pop in. So, from the ideal to the actual, the gap is the permanent difference that exists between the actuals. So this is how life ends up and the ideals that we have. The actuals right here, this is, whether they're external or internal, income, wealth, success, new job, etc., relationships, internal learning, feelings, emotions, all of that kind of stuff. The ideal is the fairy tale. These are the things, and this is something that's absolutely necessary. The ideal we need in our lives. This is how we establish goals. We motivate ourselves. You go through the ups and downs. I love these pictures. I think they're kind of funny because obviously they're kind of from a photograph, and yet, well, this one's just a straight photo, but this one's kind of that painting that is just super realistic. And I don't know if it's computer rendered or whatever, but this is how realistic our ideals need to be. You guys need to be able to visualize where you want to be in such detail that you'd be able to draw it out. You'd be able to write a movie script. If you explained it to me, I'd know exactly what you're talking about, right? Like that's your ideal. These are the goals. This is where you're going, what you're going after. Okay. But the ideal is also much like the horizon. This is something where it's a mental construct. It's something we create to help us move forward. And you will continue to advance. You're never going to reach that horizon. Okay. So what happens is you have the horizon, your ideal, and there's a gap between what actually happens and the ideal. And you need to find clarity in your goals, clarity in your visions, in your ideals, right? So it's super clear, because if you're going through life and you're kind of creating goals based on horizon style goal setting, and you're saying, I want to be successful, I want a better life, I want freedom, I want to just not have stress, I want things, I just don't want to be as busy. Those are horizon style goals, and those ideals are fine, but you need to get more specific and have some clarity with what you do, right? Okay, so before I go into the next part, do I have questions on this? Do I have questions on these basic principles? Some of you guys may not have been on that call yesterday. Thoughts about that? What do you think? Anything that stood out? A large takeaway from yesterday's call or the homework that you did? Go ahead, Lucia. You guys either pop on, or Lucia, sorry. Either pop on and say something or drop into the comments. So Lucia and then Karen, I think. Go ahead.
Hi there. Hi, Andrea. Actually, it's not necessarily related to this topic, although this is very interesting. But basically, I think I dropped you an email. It's actually just past midnight where I am. So I was just wondering, I noticed that these calls are being recorded. Is there any way that you can share those with us, either by putting them somewhere on the members, on the partner's account, or via email? Is there any, because I do have a full-time job, so I struggle to stay awake until so late.
Sure. We're developing out on the site where the recordings will be there. Otherwise, get a hold of your accountability representative. They can send you the recording. Okay?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And if we have anything else, guys, that's maybe along those lines, if you need to reach me, either send me a private message there. And Lucia, I'm sorry I didn't see the email if you'd sent it over. Okay. So anybody, Karen, you had a thought about what we're talking about here?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make yesterday's lesson, but the thing that struck me about those horizon goals or ideals is they're very much one sort of that would inspire one, sort of inspirational, but they're not very practical in the sense that you can't define very clearly. You've got to say very clearly what you mean by success or do these other things. Right.
So that's the horizon, and that's why it's the ideal. These are the things and there are emotions behind ideals, right? There's emotions behind. So like Veronica's saying, financially free, multiple sources of income. And then we get into 50K a month. And then we start, so you can talk about, I want to have my life in this way, but then we start to break it down and we can get more specific with the goals, right? So I want to be in the, I want to be in the best shape of my life. Well, what does that look like? Well, that means I'm weighing X amount. My heart rate is this, my blood pressure is that, and I've done these things, right? So I can create the goals that help me make the ideal as close to reality as possible. And then if I've got the goals, then I can figure out tasks to get me to the goals. And that's why we set it up in this way, and why you guys have to understand that the ideal is important. You need that fantasy, you need the fairy tale, but you need to be able to measure in a different way. Now, what I talked about yesterday, and with the clarity and with the road that I had here, and we kind of mapped out those goals. This is why I work from home, guys. Occasionally I talk about, some of you guys don't like dealing with coworkers. These are the coworkers that I've got to deal with. He's sitting here right now. Like, this is Winston. He is a mini doxy, mini English cream, long-haired doxy. And he is hanging out by my chair whining because he wants snacks because I gave him something a minute ago. And then this is Dolce. He's normally back there snoring. Thankfully, he's not snoring right now. But anyway, that's some of what I got to deal with. So when we look at our goals and we have the ideals, and then you create, let me share my screen again here, guys. You start to create the clarity, right? So we've got our horizon on the end. There's your, the city at the end of the drive. Well, now I can set up goals to go forward, right? But what we need to do, Renee, excellent, silver dapple, very cool. So here's what happens. In order to not fall into the gap, how to avoid that frustration of being in the gap and not achieving the ideal. Because you can go forever and you're not going to have that fairy tale the way you absolutely imagine it. There's a difference. So what you need to do is be able to go forward, but be able to look back to measure. Okay. So if you guys want to write this down, that's great. But you need to be able to look to where things start. So the basis for happiness is in measuring properly and continuing to move forward by using bigger and better ideals. So you'll get close to those ideals, and then you will create a new ideal that is bigger and better, right? How are we following along? Is everybody still with me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yes.
Are there any questions on what I'm talking about? If you're measuring back, then you're able to do this. Okay. So again, why it's important, the ideal, you're establishing goals. This is to motivate yourselves. This is how we withstand the hardships and the ups and downs that we deal with ourselves. Okay. But those ideals are going to be attached to feelings, specific moments, and you're moving towards that feeling. Because I want you to think about, if you've got, Veronica here shared, and hopefully you guys sat down and wrote out some of your ideals in that same way. If you think about being totally financially free and you're living in that dream house and you're living in a certain way, last week I had some of you guys kind of close your eyes and imagine what that would look like. And you're looking at that ideal, whether it's, months in another country, whether it's, being able to retire a family member, whatever. There's feelings that become attached to those ideals, excitement and everything else, right? So, yep, Joanne, I'm getting there, right? So if you're always looking at that, though, because you'll get closer and closer, and you'll understand that it's just not perfect when you get there, right? It's not exactly the way you felt, everything that you imagined. And this is where we look at kind of the striving versus achieving. So this is my next slide. How exciting. So I want you to think about, how many of you guys, have any of you set a goal to run a marathon?
No.
Has anybody done that?
No.
Or like a 10K? Maybe we go a little bit lighter. We go 10K. Has anybody set a goal for something like that? Or a fitness competition or anything along those lines? Think about those people that do that. So they do a fitness competition. They did the Disney one. Awesome. Did the Disney one 24 years ago. It's fantastic. So when you look at people that kind of set those goals, like they train and train and train for months. Then they go and they run that marathon. And they get this little medal, right? Because odds are they're not winning the marathon to begin with, but they get this little medal. And they kind of wake up the next day. And here they've been running an hour or 2 hours every single day, right? For months and months and months, sometimes for years. And then they go and they run their marathon and they wake up the next day and it's like, now what? Nothing's changed. Nothing's different. Guess I lace up my shoes so I go out and I run again, right? So this is where that confusion is with the ideal and the goal. They had set a goal to run a marathon, but they envisioned it as the ideal. And so there was this confusion where they let themselves down because the difference between the ideal and the actual. Am I making sense? You guys following me? Mm-hmm. As you set your goals, the ideals are essential to keep yourself moving forward. Paul did the 75 hard. I'm in the middle of, So the 75 hard, for some of you guys that don't know, there's a guy named Andy Frisella that launched a company called First Form Supplements. Great guy to follow and watch. He will absolutely tell it like it is. 75 hard is a pretty great program, but if you miss any aspect of it on any day, you've got to start the whole thing over. So I just got done starting over recently, Paul.
Did you?
But this is kind of where, you're talking about tasks. So in my mind, it's not a goal to do those things every single day. It's a task, right? So tasks help you accomplish the goals. The goals are the specific portions of the ideal to get you as close as possible. And this is the difference between striving towards something versus achieving. This is a difference in people that are, look at the work that they've done versus finishing and going, now what? What's the difference now in my life now that I've achieved it, right? Where are things different? Are they different at all? So this is your first bit of homework, because a lot of times you strive, and if you don't hit that ideal exactly the way that you think, a lot of people feel like a failure. I didn't get there. I didn't get where I needed to be. Well, so goals, yes, goals need to be smart, but a lot of times people forget about the dreams and the ideals that go with the goals, and then they confuse goals with tasks, right? Because the tasks are the things that we do each and every day. So here's the first thing. If we're going to get out of living in the gap, if we're going to get out of kind of this frustration with our progress, this is the first question that I want you to answer today. And if you didn't do the homework from yesterday, message me. We can get you that link so that you can watch that video, so that you can do the homework where we talk about your ideals and then the goals to achieve those ideals that you're going to work for until the end of 2021. So over the course of the next 14 months. So this is what you need to do, though. I want you to look back. And what was a situation where you felt like the outcome didn't quite match up? And I want you to describe it. So you're not saying just, Paul, you threw out the 75 hard, so I'm just going to use that. So you're not just saying, oh, the 75 hard. You're not just saying, oh, that business that I started. You're not just saying the relationship that you just had that didn't work out. What was the situation? What was the ideal that you were after? And what was the outcome that did not come to pass? Okay. So that's the first question that you're going to answer as far as homework goes. All right. People that find some happiness in life are those that can look at what they're doing and they can understand the power in striving towards a goal. Now, it's important to achieve what you're going after, right? And you work till you get those things. I'm not saying it's not just in how you play the game, right? I'm not getting into that. There aren't rewards just for participation. You've got to see it all the way through. But you have to understand what happens with that progress, right? It's always about the gains.
Yeah.
I thought that picture was funny. And my fiance walked in and said, what the hell are you looking at? But it's all about the gains, right? And expanding those. So here's how you do that. Okay. Look at what you've done over the course of the last year, over the course of the last 6 months, whatever it is, whatever journey that you happen to be on, because each of you is on a journey. Understand that every bit of progress is measurable. But in order to do that, you have to have a real starting point. You have to know where you're beginning. So right now you guys are launching a business, or you've got a business and you're adding something to it. You're starting a new relationship. You're starting a new workout regime. You're doing a regimen. You're doing your diet, whatever it may be. You've got to have a starting point. And you can't be generic about it. You've got to have it. And then expanding and understanding your gains, being able to really look at it and measure things, means that there are numbers and events and everything else that you can go through. Okay. Paula and Carrie White need that. All right. For you yesterday. All right. Thoughts on this, guys? Share some with me. What do you guys think? Group discussion.
Hey Andrew. Just on your homework. So just let me give you a concrete example. So couple of years ago, I ate keto, not for weight loss, but for another reason. Ate keto for 9 months, loved it. Really enjoyed it, but started having like some other kind of, say, not health issues, but it just something didn't feel right. Right. So, but it's not, is that Like where you achieve the supposed goal and it looks different than you imagined it would. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, in essence. So a lot of people would do something like that, and they get to the end, and then they've got, maybe there's some other things, or they decided to stop for other reasons, whatever it may be, right? Mm-hmm. And they go, man, that was such a bust. I'm so upset. I didn't, I wasn't able to keep it going, and you feel like, man, that just wasn't worth it. But if you stop and you look
at that, if I've achieved something, even if I achieve something and it doesn't look entirely like I expected to, I don't know that I've ever really felt like that.
Maybe not to that extent, right? But if you look at different things, there's always those moments of like, man, it wasn't what I expected. Or I wish man, by now I wish I was at this point. I'd set this goal to be financially free, or I'd set this goal to have X number of clients, or I'd done this, and I haven't done any of that, right? Like I am right now, years ago. So I just got a Facebook message or a Facebook reminder today that 10 years ago how many of you guys, I mentioned the other day a guy named Joe Polish. So he runs Prana Marketing, the Genius Network, 25K group, and if I were to 10 years ago, if I'm having a conversation with Andrew then, I'm nowhere near now where I thought I would be, right? Yeah, but a big part of that is because, divorce is a big, life goes like this. I'm in a totally different field because I was running a restoration and construction business. I was starting to do other things. In my mind, I was going to be at a certain place. And if I look at it, if I sat down today and I go, man, my 10 years, I'm not anywhere that I need to be. And a lot of people can tend to, now I've gone through a lot of changes. And so I look at life differently now than I know that person did 10 years ago. But I got this Facebook reminder 10 years ago today, I was on stage with Joe Polish training some other cleaners and restoration guys. And in my mind at that time, I was going to continue training small business owners in that way. And I was going to continue to build out a restoration construction business. I was going to have multiple locations. And by that time I was going to be totally off the truck, and I was going to be doing this. I was going to be doing that. Look, I've turned right and left and done so many other things. Like if I look at every 6 months, every year, and I said, man, oh, Andrew, you didn't do this. Oh, this didn't happen. That didn't happen. And a lot of people do that with small things, but you don't understand if you keep going towards a certain ideal, those goals may change, right? The actual is going to be different. And it's okay that that's different as long as you know where that ideal is, and then you create bigger and better. So where I am now it's totally different. I feel it's better, but there's been a tremendous amount of change. Some people get so caught up in maybe, and obviously the 10-year window is a bit bigger, but they'll do a 6-month or a 90-day or a 12, a lot of you guys on this call in, 3 months are going to look and go, man, I haven't earned X. I haven't got Y number of leads. This was a failure. And they'll throw their hands up. Like, we got close to 30 people on this call. Just by statistics, there's going to be a portion of you guys that'll quit by that point. Like, let's be real, right? I don't want any of you to quit. I want every single one of you guys to achieve whatever success you've got. You're each and every one of you capable of doing it. 100%. You're all capable of doing it. If you understand truly what your why is, you're willing to work for it. You're going through all the ups and, you develop your mindset, you utilize the skills. Any one of you can do it. But the reality is some won't, right? And some of it's simply because they've set this ideal in place with no idea about the actual goals. They're not looking at the tasks. They're going to get a little further down the road. And instead of looking at what they've achieved, instead of looking at how far they've come, they're going to look and go, I'm not there. I'm going to quit. And they're going to get off the tracks and they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the reality?
That happens.
Some of you guys may have already done that with other things in the past. You got 60 days into it. You got 6 months into it. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a workout program, right?
I have a really sad story about this because I did ASM. I did Amazing Selling Machine in 2014. Mm-hmm. And I did everything right. My product wasn't quite good enough. That's the real shame of it because everything else was great. Amazon even helped me to get to $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And but what was really irritating was because I didn't carry on. I was on a flight 2 years later, and my product, which was like a little spiralizer, vegetable spiralizer, because it was cheap and it came from China, it was lightweight, all the things that ASM said to do. And but 2 years later, after I'd given up,
you saw it.
I read it in online in the in-flight magazine that spiralizers were the best-selling product of the whole year. Everywhere.
Wow.
But it was the hand turning ones, you know. Mine wasn't that. Mine was you stick the vegetable in, but that was really, I felt so.
So Larry just put this, and there's a whole book about this, but have you guys seen this picture? This one right here?
No.
Right?
Yeah, digging.
And guys, this goes back to, I've said it in most of the welcome calls, I'll say it, but the reality is, like Tony Robbins says, most people will overestimate what they can do in their first 60 to 90 days, and they will grossly underestimate what's possible, years 2 through 5, right? And that's the point of it. So concept of fail fast, goals remain, means change. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things about, and so this is where we get into semantics about failing. But it's moving, right? If you make a decision, you start moving, you create momentum. So even if you're possibly a little bit of the wrong path, you can keep rolling. You can just modify a little bit your course, and you can keep things moving. So keep pushing forward, right? Is the key. So fail. One of the biggest differences between people that achieve at this level versus those that don't is people that are scared to try over and over and keep themselves pushing. So they're scared of that failure. Successful people reach that. So Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you actually can get to the point where the temporary failures that you hit along the way actually are signals to you that you're about to go to the next level, because it's not like it's like an investment graph. You don't go up, 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 up. You go up, 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 a step backwards and up, up, up. Yep. And when you go backwards, when you go down, if it's a good stock, that's the time to reinvest, because the stock's about to rebound. Mm-hmm. So when you do this long enough, you start to realize, I just hit a darkness along the path. Wow, I must be on the verge of a major breakthrough. If you can program your mind to think that way, then you actually get pumped up about these setbacks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's where, and Matthew, I appreciate the shout out in the Facebook group today, talking about the big leap. That's part of what he's talking about there. You hit those obstacles and it's like, hey, I'm right at that upper limit. Something's right here and I can push through it, right? Something's about to happen. There's a saying that I love when all hell breaks loose, because I know blessings are right around the corner. For me, if I know that there's shit going down, I know something's right around the corner that's going to blow up. Other people, if you haven't strengthened yourself mentally, guys, you run into obstacles. Hey, I'm having trouble getting financing for my business. I need some help building out this funnel. This one didn't convert. I need to do X. I'm struggling with my diet, whatever. You get there and a lot of people will throw up their hands and say, well, it wasn't for me. Well, obviously, the Lord must have put some obstacles. That's one of the things that I freak out about when people start using religion. They're like, well, God put that obstacle there, didn't want me to do it. Right. And it's like, what are you talking about? Right. Like, diamonds don't come about until that coal has been pressed down. Right. It's through tribulation. So, and this goes along, Larry, with what you were talking about. I'm right there with you. And I love the fact that you guys are all thinking like this too. So that's great. So when you start to notice your gains, you start to notice how far you've come when you start to notice those trials. So here's the next part of that homework, right? So I gave you homework a second ago. This is the second part. I want you to look at that situation, something that didn't quite work out. So what new knowledge, what new skills, what results were achieved that you didn't have prior to starting? What did you accomplish? Instead of looking at how short you got, what did you accomplish? Specifically, what did you accomplish?
May I add something, Andrew?
Absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
My experience reading the Big Leap, I had an aha moment yesterday because I'm learning how to invest in the stock market. And about a month ago, I was doing great. I had almost tripled my account. But then after that, I hit my upper limit and started looking back at how far I had come. And you know how in the book says, you know, we hit that upper limit and we feel like we're not worthy of what we achieved. So for some reason, whatever amount I had in my account, it only took me 3 weeks to get back to my starting point. So yesterday I was like, no wonder. So now it's like going through that chapter, like it's helping me to develop that mindset that once I get back to that, because I obviously know how to do it, I'm already going to be prepared with the mindset that it is okay to be at that level. I'm worthy of it, or my goal is worthy of me, you know. Yeah. So it was a big aha moment. And
there's a lot of these things that come into play, guys. And when, you know, sometimes people go, well, why do you focus so much, you know, and not just me, obviously, Bob Proctor, why does he do it so much? Why does Brent Burchard do it so much? Why does Tony Robbins do it so much? Russell Brunson, why do they focus on mindset? Why do you focus on your money blueprint? Why do you focus on breaking through when all I want to do is run a business? Anybody can run the damn business, guys. Anybody can build out a funnel. Like, you know, now getting it all done really, really well. Okay. You want someone with a high skill level. But the reality is, you know, I mean, there's an interview, and everybody knows who Elon Musk is, right? Yep. There's an interview that I saw a clip of, and he's expressed this in a number of different ways. But you don't need that college education. You don't need that to run a successful business, right? Like, he'll hire people that have it, but he doesn't have it himself, right? Because he's hiring letting the people with that skill do it, right? Henry Ford kind of talked about that back in the day. You know, he may not know how to do every single aspect of his business, but he could hire the smartest people to get them in the room so that they could do it. Right? Does that make sense for you guys? You don't have to know every single thing, but you've got to believe that the resources are out there, and that, you're capable of finding them. Yep. Larry Mastermind. And we're going to talk a little bit more on one of these calls, guys. I'm going to talk about your network. There's that saying, your net worth is a reflection of your network. It goes so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper. And when you understand truly the power of what that is, having the right kind of network, having the right kind of mastermind and mentors and training, you'll understand how important that is in your long-term success. So everybody got the 2 questions for homework, what you're doing.
Can you share the screen again, please?
Can you just go over them again, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
All right. So first one is here. Striving versus achieving. What I want you to do is kind of think about your goals and stuff that you've set for yourself at some point in your past. I don't care when, but I want you to look back at the situation where you felt like the outcome didn't match up with the ideal, right? So the ideal is what we've been talking about. This was kind of that fairy tale, whatever you started and the fairy tale you had in mind. What was the situation where you felt like the outcome didn't match up? Okay. And be more specific than simply, my girl left me, the last relationship, right? Or weight, health, or if it's a business and you say, oh, that MLM. Instead of that, be a little more specific. Draw it out, guys. Use your brains. The second part is what you actually gained. I want you to look at it now from a different perspective. We've created hopefully we're starting to develop a new paradigm. So I want you to look at it and say, looking at that situation, what new knowledge, skills, results, what did I get out of it? What did I achieve? Right? Mm-hmm. So it's like me looking back, and I look at that day up on the stage with, with Joe Polish, and if in that short term, like when I walked away from that cleaning and restoration business, that was an 8-figure business. I was crushed. I'd worked hard to build that up, and I felt like a failure having to walk away from it. Looking back now, that was instrumental, being able to do that and then meet some of the people that I've been able to meet, put me on a path to do something I never imagined I would do, but I've been able to because of those moments. Mm-hmm. And I started to understand the power of those skills. Larry, you want to unmute?
Yeah, you just said, what did I learn from the pivot, or what did I learn from the setback? I think you actually can learn to become proactive and say, okay, I just took a setback. what's in front of me right now? Let me keep my eyes open. What door am I supposed to go open right now? What message am I being sent right now? Oh, I used to be face-to-face. You know what? I always had this digital thing in my head, and let me pivot here. It's not only looking back and saying, what did I learn? But you start to become astute and say, what is the universe trying to teach me right now? Where's the next opening that it's showing me?
Okay. All right. So then Andrew, can I just say something? I'm just trying to put all that I have been gathering together. So then in this whole situation is as if you're going on a journey, and sometimes that's what I'm getting from what we're discussing here. Right. At times, the path that you may have set off on, for example, I have started, I love teaching. I have started on that path. I always wanted to do that. But because that's what I wanted to do, it doesn't mean that the steps that I may take to get it done would be where I would go. So life can take you in different pathways, and it is
to get close to the same result or close to that same destination. With that said, there is so you're setting your ideal. Your ideal is your destination down on the horizon. This is the fairy tale or the fairy tale destination, right? And you're going towards it. But just like the horizon, that ideal is going to continue to move, right? That final destination is going to change. And this is part of, and in tomorrow, I'm going to finalize this training, guys. I was going to make it 2 parts, decided to make it 3. So we're going to talk about really the part. Larry's just jumping the gun. He's trying to be kind of, I guess, teacher's pet at this point. Just play him in. I love everybody's feedback. I love it. No, but what you're talking about is exactly what we're going to talk about, right? Like moving forward and how to work through that, right? How to look forward and look at how am I creating the new ideal, because I'm getting close to it. Now I need to create a new one that's bigger and better, right? That's part of what happiness is understanding you will create bigger and better ideals. Goals will change, but look how far I've come. So you're looking forward with an understanding that, yes, I have moved, right? People that struggle with happiness in journeys, because you can have someone that's successful, right? That is an achiever that gets shit done, but they're miserable because all they're doing is measuring against the ideal. Larry, you're solid, man. But all they do is measure against the ideal, and they never look back and see how far they've come. And I want each one of you guys, we want to create a bigger and better ideal, but you got to understand you've advanced. You're moving forward, right? I promise none of you guys 10 years ago were sitting there going, well, I bet at some point I'm going to sit on a Zoom call with people all over the world talking about marketing. That's what happened.
Never thought of it.
What do we have right now? We've got Australia, we've got Israel, we have Barbados, we have Europe, we have everybody's everywhere.
We have Canada.
And we have this possibility right now. And you've got the possibility to run with this to wherever you want to take it, with the understanding that as you're running along, you're going to go, hey, I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to keep moving a little bit. And that's going to continue to change, right? So that's why we work on mindset, guys. That's why we help you develop this part out, because the skill set you'll learn, or you'll outsource, or you'll ask, we've got the accelerator program. When we talk about the program design call, your business plan call, we'll talk about different, there's so many things that are available, but ultimately the biggest variable with all this, guys, is you, right?
Yes.
So on that note, that's what we got.
Can I just ask one? I want to ask you a quick question. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
If you got your mindset down, but you're weak in the skill set, do you feel confident to say that's not an issue? Somehow or other, if you've got your mindset down, somehow or other, we're going to get you through the skill set problem.
Yeah, the skill, because the skill set is something you either learn or you outsource. And if you're scared to outsource it, that's your mindset. And when people go, oh, well, I don't have the capital to outsource, I go, that's your mindset, because the capital is available somewhere, right? Like it is. So, and I'll give an example of that really on the program design call. I had a business that we started doing. So I started selling nutraceuticals. I'm gonna give you a long story of a couple different businesses that I launched. I'm gonna take 2 minutes to tell this, and I'm gonna wrap up the call, guys. So bear with me. I had a friend that started a nutraceutical company selling Garcinia cambogia and enzymes and colon cleanse and a number of other things, eye care, skin care, different stuff. He was doing okay. I came on to help with marketing because I had learned how to do it. We got launched. We started selling online. We were using radio. We're using TV commercials, all sorts of different things. It grew, but it grew too fast. And credit card companies, all of the, the merchant accounts got scared and kind of forced us to slow our growth. Well, in the meantime, we said, well, how can we generate more leads? Just in general, what can we do? We got good at this advertising thing. How can we generate more leads? We brought in a couple of customers, and then we decided what we were going to do. Because I'm in Orlando, we launched, there are these 6-foot digital kiosks. Now they're kind of everywhere. This was a few years ago, but it was a touch screen, and people could walk up to it and say, well, I want to know what restaurants in the area, and they could hit that, get a coupon code from this, and get it texted to their phone, right? Attractions, everything else. So think about the brochure racks that you would see in a hotel when you walk in and there's the restaurants and attractions, everything. People pick up the brochures. It was a digital form of that. Mm-hmm. So we got started. And then we got a couple of hotels. Then we created, we got a partnership with this little company, little travel company some of you guys may have heard of, called Expedia. Maybe you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. We signed an affiliate agreement with them. And they said, hey, we want to put these in the hotels that we have concierge in here in Orlando. I said, great. How many do you want to do? And I said, we want 125 of them. Okay. So these kiosks, getting the kiosks ordered and then getting them programmed, it was about $2,000 a piece. So we're just starting the business out. They say we need 125 of these in X amount of time. So I had to come up with 250 grand. I don't know about you guys, I didn't have that sitting in an account. So I went, well, shoot, what do we do now? But we had the opportunity. So I could have upper limited. I could have thrown up my hands and said, well, we just can't do it. Or we went and we found a way. Now, all sorts of different conversations, long stories on how we were able to do that, but we were able to. The point is, if I don't have the, I'm not a programmer, right? I didn't program those things. I didn't have a factory to build them myself. I had to find a supplier, right? I had the concept, the idea, we knew what we wanted. You bring together the team, you make things happen. There's the world in that regard, the world is much larger than you guys imagine, but it's so much more connected than you can think. There's always a way to get there. So if you don't have the skill set, that's fine. There are ways to accomplish that, right? As long as you attack it in that direction, right? Now, how long that takes, what method you take, there's a lot of different pathways to get there, but there's always a pathway. And if you kind of go into any situation thinking there's always a solution, I just need to figure out what it is, then you can find that way. Okay. And we'll get more into it. I'll talk about some stuff and we'll get into all of it. But yeah, guys, the point of this, we're going to finalize tomorrow. Hopefully, so either from myself or from your accountability representative, please get a recording of yesterday's. If you didn't see it, get those 2 questions answered from yesterday, which is essentially just create an ideal for between now and 2014, and then explain the goals that will help you achieve the ideal. And then I gave you the homework for today. Tomorrow I'm going to have a little bit, a couple of different things. We're going to wrap up this kind of training. I hope you guys have gotten a little bit of value. Your paradigm's starting to shift. You're understanding things, hopefully starting to think a little bit differently from some of this. A little bit, yes. Any value in what you guys are hearing? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes, awesome. Yes. Excellent. Guys, that's what I got. I appreciate you. Go out, find ways, no matter what's going on. This world is burning around us. Always rise from the ashes, fly like the phoenix. Go be fantastic. See you guys. Same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow.
Woo! Andrew.
Yes.
There's a question I have. I am here. There's a question I need to ask, but I have to email you for it because I received some. It has nothing to do with this, but I received some information and I'm not sure if it's coming from you. I hear we usually get a lot of.
Email it. Just email me, Andrew.
All right.
Andrew.
I just want to clarify and make sure that it is from you and not from something else.
Okay. Yeah, Andrew at BlakeNewBarton.com.
All right. Andrew, could I ask a question?
Yep.
What I wanted to ask was, God, I forgot my question now. What was it? Sorry, I'll come back at you.
Okay. You can message me, email me, guys. Andrew at BlakeNewBarton.com.
Oh yeah, I know what it was. Sorry, just mental blank there. We're attending these lessons, these Zoom calls, which is obviously about 40 minutes. Are we at the same time supposed to be going on to the members site and start building the funnel?
You can start through that. So you can start going through that. Yes, some people are starting to build. Some people want to get to that program design business plan call first. you can do either way. Get in and familiarize yourself with it. So yeah, you can start working through that. You should be having your call either daily or every other day with your accountability representative to kind of help through that process.
I haven't had any so far.
Okay. Who are you with, Karen?
Paul.
Do you remember? Paul. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So does anybody have Robert?
I have Robert. I have Robert as well.
Okay. Robert, are you there? I don't know if you're listening or if you're just sitting in the background. Robert popped on the call.
Yeah, I'm in with you guys.
Robert, drop a or if you guys want to, everyone raise their hand if they need it. All right, so almost all of you guys are international, right? That said?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so what we need, guys, is, Robert, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we send everybody a QR code on WhatsApp in their email. We're having a hard time connecting.
So if you haven't got it, here's what I need you guys to do. Write down robert@blakenewbar.com and send him an email so he can just respond to that with the QR code so you guys can connect. Okay.
Here's something stupid. What do you do? How do you get that QR code onto WhatsApp? I have the QR code.
Okay. You should be able to.
Take a picture with your phone. You take a picture.
Yeah.
With your phone.
So like open up the email on your.
I got it. I know what to do. Okay.
We have an option.
Easiest way, just open up the email there, or if you just tap on it, depending on the phone, it'll just read it and automatically open up and connect, and you can do it that way. Okay. So, Anthony's got it.
So tech savvy.
So if you want, I can.
Anthony, what's up?
So it comes in on WhatsApp, does it?
Yes, it's we have an option in WhatsApp. You can go here, the three dots, click on that, and sorry, not this one, and go to settings.
Right.
And you will see on the right corner one QR code symbol. Click on that. Yes. And there you can see my code and scan code. So you can go to scan code, and what Robert sent, you can scan on that. His contact will be adding into your WhatsApp contact.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll bring Anthony. Anthony, make sure you are back tomorrow so we can explain that again.
Yeah, please. We'll try. We'll try.
But if you guys look, if you guys can't find the email with the code already, then email robert@blakenewbar.com and he can resend it to you. Because if he sends another email right now, it may go to junk again and you may miss it again. So just email him, say, hey, I need to connect. And then he'll be able to talk with you. Some of you guys will get through this process and be able to get to that program design call in the next few days. Some of you guys may take a week or two. Everybody's a little bit different, right? So we want to make sure that we can chat with you, keep you moving, and kind of address some of your questions. So, all right, guys.
But before, Andrew, before we have this design call and things, is it actually advantageous? Would you advise us to actually sort of familiarize ourselves with the site, because there's a lot of different tabs?
Get in and familiarize yourself with it. Take a look at it. If you want to start working on it, you can. If you want to get in and just get familiar with it and say, okay, I got an idea, I'm okay. Like everyone's going to be a little bit different, right? I'm going to get some people that get to that call and they're like, I'm already done, I don't need you. Okay, fine.
Okay, but I mean, once we get to start building the funnel, if it's after the 2 weeks or 3 weeks, can we still get support from you?
So there's different, again, the program design call, like in Robert and Paul, they're not tech support, right? They're not here to help you build the funnel. One of the things that we talk about in the design call, some people come in and say, I love this, I love what's here. I don't have, like Larry was talking about, I don't have the skill set. I am going to use this 100%. I need some things done for me, or I want X amount of continued one-on-one, or I want, like, everyone's going to be a little bit different. So Blake's put together an accelerator program for some people that want kind of next level, that want stuff done for them, or they know, like I had a call with someone just the other day she's a designer. She's got an existing business. She wants stuff done for her just because she doesn't have the time. So she's like, I'll just pay you some extra. You finish this just so I can use it. And other people are going to come in and say, I'm cool taking my time with it. I'm going to learn how to do each aspect of this because that's what I want to do. And there's 100 different in-betweens, right? So that's why we get there. We have that call, and then you and I have a one-on-one, and you say, here's what I've got. Here's where I want to go. Here's what I need. Okay, but if we've got a concept and we're not quite sure how one can make that fit a funnel, or how one can make it so that it... So there's different, there are some training inside those videos. And then depending on what you need, there's a number of different options, right? So the best answer that I can give you, Karen, is it depends. Because there's if you haven't seen it, ask Paul for the call that I did last week. It was one of these calls, but I talked about selecting a niche and working on a niche. So we spent 45 minutes going into a couple of different things. I don't know if you're on that or not, but there's some different training in there that might help.
Hey, Andrew, when are those two the coaching calls Tuesday and Thursdays that we get for 6 weeks? How do we access those?
Message support, they'll give you the link for it.
Thank you.
I don't have that. Yeah. And Hobby, it is super customizable, but then it depends. Some people don't want to customize it themselves. Like I don't do any, like I've got a marketing digital agency. I bring clients on. I don't do any of that. I don't want to. I don't, right? Like I outsource that. You build it, done, right? Like, and I've got some like Blake's funnel that can be customized, and then where once you've done it, like if you've got your specific niche, once it's done, there's just little things you have to tweak. I don't even do that. I get a virtual assistant. Now that I've got the commercial rights to that funnel from Blake, I have somebody else. I don't want to do it. I like this.
Doing it. I don't know why.
Right? I like this stuff. Okay. Yeah. It's just like paying my bills. I have my mom's on my payroll, right? I'm retired. She was a nurse. She won't let me just give her money to help support her. So I've got to have her do stuff. I have her paid stuff. Like it's either automated where it just comes out or I have her deal with it. I don't even open envelopes when they come to me. I just don't deal with it because I don't like doing it. It keeps my mind better. Right.
Yeah.
So Blake, I am kind of lost. So I was going through the program. So I have the program. I was going through it. Actually, I am at still the first, I think module 1. But so we have to go through these sessions before you actually start. How is it?
No, we recommend getting to that the program design call or the business plan call. If you can get to that, and then we can have that one-on-one and get more in depth, and because we're going to help you kind of clarify some of the questions you have. We're going to help you clarify your goals. We're going to clarify how you can use this to achieve them, right? Because a lot of people say, this is great, I want to use it. How in the hell do I do that? Right? Like that's normal though. And this is why a lot of people struggle during these first few weeks. This is why we've got the momentum process in place. It's why we have guys that just say, hey, so yeah, it's not just there. And if you get a hold of your accountability representative, be it Paul or Robert, or we got a couple new that are starting up as well. They've got some videos that Blake and I filmed that explain certain pieces of this. We've got some extra videos for you. So, reach out to him. If you've got Paul, email him, paul@blakenewbar.com. If you got Robert, email him, robert@blakenewbar.com. Set up a call and have that call. Okay?
Okay.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll let you go.
Bye-bye.
We're closing in on an hour.
You.
So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you all.